Kick-ass facts with Valentine's Day just around the corner. We're going to talk about divorce. Pew, 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 pew! Everything's fine. I'm not getting divorced. Thank you for your concern. Two researchers at Emory University studied 3,000 married couples in the United States to determine the factors of predicted divorce. They analyzed income, religious attendance, how important attractiveness was to each partner, wedding attendance, and other metrics to determine the aspects associated with eventual marital dissolution. Spending between $2,000 and $4,000 on an engagement ring is significantly associated with an increase in the risk of divorce. Couples who dated for at least 3 years before their engagement were 39% less likely to get divorced than couples who dated less than a year before getting engaged. Couples who make more than $125,000 a year combined cut their divorce risk in half. Men are 50% more likely to end up divorced when they said their partner's looks were important to their decision in getting married. Women were 60% more likely to end up divorced when they said their partner's wealth was important, compared to people who said they cared about neither. Couples with bigger weddings are less likely to get divorced. People who invited 200 or more guests to their wedding were 92% less likely to get divorced than couples that got married alone. The more you spend on your wedding, the more likely you'll end up divorced. Those who spent over $20,000 on their wedding are 46% more likely to get divorced than those who spent $5,000 to $10,000. People who marry at 18 have a 60% divorce rate compared to people who got married at 23 with a 30% divorce rate. And make sure you go on a honeymoon. A honeymoon decreases the chance of divorce by 41%. The median ages for first marriages in the United States are 26.9 years old for men and 25.3 years old for women. The average age for couples going through their first divorce is approximately 30 years old, 30 and a half years old for men and 29 for women. The average length of a first marriage that ends in divorce is roughly 8 years, 7.8 years for men, 7.9 years for women. Moving into second marriages that end in divorce, the timelines shorten somewhat. In these cases, the median length is 7.3 years for men, and for women it drops to 6.8 years. If a person does ultimately remarry, the average time between their divorce and their next wedding is about 3 years, 3.3 years for men and 3.1 years for women. In 2021, the most recent data available, 689,308 divorces and annulments took place in the United States. This represents a drop from 877,000 in 2011. In fact, the number of divorces in America has declined almost every year this millennium. This number breaks down to almost 1,889 divorces per day, which averages out to about 79 divorces per hour and just over 1.3 divorces per minute. There's like 4 couples getting divorced in the span of this video. More marriages equals more divorces. With each subsequent marriage, the chances of divorce greatly increase. 41% of first marriages end in divorce, 60% of second marriages end in divorce, and 73% of third marriages end in divorce. At some point, you just got to realize, maybe I'm not cut out for this. In 2004, a U.S. Census Bureau survey found that in 36% of weddings, at least one spouse was remarrying. Like the divorce rate, the rate of remarriage has also declined steadily over the years. Research shows that between 1990 and 2019, the remarriage rate dropped nearly 50%. Men are statistically more likely to remarry, with a 35.1% remarriage rate, than women, who remarry at a rate of 19.4%. Couples who live together before getting married, what my parents like to call living in sin, have a 13% higher risk of divorce, and that number increases if you had more than one previous live-in partner. If one spouse smokes cigarettes and the other doesn't, that couple is ultimately 75 to 91% likelier to divorce. A recent Swedish study found that people with commutes longer than 45 minutes are also at a much higher risk of divorce. In the United States, women typically initiate divorce more often than men on average, with more than 2/3 of all divorces filed by women. Women have more job opportunities and higher independent incomes, making getting a divorce less financially risky than it has been in the past. While men gain more benefits from marriage, such as better health, longer life expectancy, and being taken care of domestically, women don't enjoy those same perks. Thus, men are less likely to initiate divorce. When women get married, their level of relationship satisfaction tends to decrease significantly more than it does for men. The number one reason for filing for a divorce given by both men and women is growing apart or arguments. According to one study, this accounts for 66% of the reasons men and women each give for divorce.